please remain standing for a moment of silence. And during that moment of silence, if you would, please remember a longtime employee of the city, Toby Latham. He passed away. He was a 20-year employee, and from what I understand, he always had a smile. So if we could just please remember him. Thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda is an executive session. Council entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion that we move into executive session for discussions incident to contractual matters relating to Piedmont EMS lease agreement and for discussion incident to contractual matters related to Hubert Tramway.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second? Second by Chris Lambic Larson. Any discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're in executive session. We will be back shortly, we promise. No votes were taken other than return to open session. Item number 2 on the agenda is public comments. And we have one, which is Anna Murray Randolph. If you would, step to the podium, state your name, address, and 3 minutes is the limit, so if we could hit the clock.
My name is Ann Murray Randolph. I live at 148 Amberwoods Drive in Tegakay. And I have been in contact with the people at the Development Department about the mess that was made of River Falls Development, where in spite of regulations, they cut down lots and lots of trees. They went through buffers. They are held now by the Army Corps of Engineers because of damage they did to wetlands. And I would like to know how we got to a place where our regulations say they cannot cut down a tree that is 4 or more inches, and yet I watched them right across from my backyard cut down trees that were over 100 feet high and well in excess of the 4 inches. So, and then I looked at our regulations, starting with section 19-453 on the retention and protection of large trees. And then I looked at what was agreed to in the technical section of the agreement with the company that was developing this land. And basically, they're allowed to grade, cut, fill, anything they want, and replace buffer materials and trees with walls, fences. It's as if the regulations for Tegakay were never written. And so I was asked, this is now 6 or 7 weeks ago, to be patient and to wait until the Army Corps of Engineers and the other appropriate folks had their say. And what I see is no movement. I even see in this technical agreement that the vegetation on Gold Hill Road will be left as is, and yet it was hoovered as well. So I have a couple questions. One, which is the operational set of standards for Tegakay? Do we allow people to go in and completely timber a property without protections against them timbering things that they shouldn't? And by the way, I'm not the only problem. On the other side, the timbering company took trees that weren't even on their property, on this property. The second thing is, what is the current status of the Army Corps of Engineers and their actions regarding the wetlands and streams that were,
You can finish the sentence, please.
okay, were violated by this timbering company? And the third thing is, what specific remediation will be done to the lands that were violated that were not supposed to be? So there are a number of people on Amberwoods Drive who now look at nothing but devastation behind them.
Thank you.
And so that's my request.
Thank you. Charlie, can you address?
I can address some of her concerns to a certain extent now, but I can provide her a more detailed response via email. I believe I have your contact email. I'll be more than happy to provide her with a more thorough and detailed response. I can do so by tomorrow.
Charlie,
You
I
can
think a
copy
lot of
council
people
on.
are interested in knowing, so if you could put out in your weekly newsletter or something, I think there's a lot of citizens that have the same questions and share the same
Sure.
concerns.
I
guess what I was gonna suggest is we post it on Facebook. We get it out through all of our media,
Yeah,
that we can put out there.
Sure.
So that everyone is aware that's going on.
Mhm.
It is, I guess I should turn that on. So if you could do that, we would greatly appreciate that. And
Very happy
in
to.
the future, if you have questions about what's going on, the city manager is there, and he
You have to
will.
understand, I've
come to the
contacted,
microphone.
Ma'am.
You'll have to come to.
I need you to go to the microphone. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
okay. So I have contacted the building department, the development department. Charlie has heard from me. Jennifer Stafford has heard from me. Everybody has promised that if I remained patient, which I have, that I would get the information that I wanted. That has not happened.
Well, from what I understand from the city manager, you'll have that information, or the majority of that information tomorrow. Thank you. Any other public comments? There being none, closed public comments. Item number 3 on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Council, before you are the agenda minutes from March 16th. Are there any questions or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, those minutes stand approved. Item number 4 on the agenda is special presentations. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Police Chief,
Chief Parker. Yep.
Chief Parker.
Yes, sir. If you would all come on up. Come on, man. A little bit closer. If half of you can come over here, that'd be good too. Sorry, I'm gonna get you all in. Get
One
you
way or
on
another.
TV here on the camera. But, Mayor, members of council, city management, like to take a minute, to just focus on something really positive, that's happened in the community.
I was going to have Major Nelson come around this way and take that picture.
Take the picture the right way? That's good, all right. Okay, so we got a couple.
Jiminy Cricket. Paparazzi.
There we go. Something positive out of a negative. As we all know, Sergeant White, who it's actually his birthday today, so it's talked to him today. His spirits are up. He's going through chemo, but part of the reason why his spirits are up is why we're here tonight. The community, unbelievable the response and what they've done. But wanted to take time out to thank Danny and his staff. I'm going to give Danny a moment to speak, and then I'm going to respond to that after Danny finishes.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to do this, and I think it's just something that, as a community, that we appreciate doing for everybody and helping whoever we can when we can. So I want to thank Chief for actually calling me and asking and talking to me about it, and we decided to do this, and we all got together, and it created a really, really good thing, a positive thing, and I saw Anthony in there 2 weeks ago, and he's really, really in good spirits, which is really good, and I got some positive news from him too, so I think it's really good for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
For letting us do it.
Thank you.
So, on behalf of the police department, we wanted to thank Danny and his staff. Tremendous job that day. Oh my God, we got in their way. I felt so bad for them. We couldn't. I felt like I got in their way the entire time. But raised was $3,327.45. Incredible effort by him and his staff. Because I don't know how they keep up with the way they're able to keep up with what they do, but the line was out the door, and we got you a little plaque and wanted to thank you and the staff. Thank you very much. We really appreciate what you did. It meant a lot to our department, and I know it means a ton to Sergeant White, so thank you very much. All right, and we'll
I want
give
to
you that.
appreciate everybody that works with us too. These
Could you do me a
contractors.
favor and just mention their names? That would be
Sure.
great.
Jackie, Robert, Amber, Danny, and my wife MJ, and again, without them, there's no way this would have happened too, so they're the biggest part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief,
Hey, Steve.
you got a minute?
Yes,
I
yes.
spoke to Sergeant White yesterday while he was here and give me something from the father-daughter dance. I was gonna mail it, but you saved me a stamp. I appreciate it. You can add to that.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ron.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Item number 4B on the agenda, also Chief Parker.
And I'll be quick, if I can, if Major Nelson, Lieutenant Patterson, and Lieutenant Spence can come up. It's, a lot of times, some of the work that we do as police officers goes unnoticed, especially in today's media. I guess I shouldn't have said that.
Well,
True.
it's been a rough ride
Yeah,
lately.
But, you know, I think it's important that we acknowledge good work. There's been a lot of good things that have been done by the police department in the last several months. Recently, I'm not here before you for that, but there was multiple arson and burglary cases, and the staff did an outstanding job in making sure that they were able to solve those cases quickly, and the burglaries and arsons have stopped. So that's important. But the reason why we're here today is on February 22nd, 2015, it was a Sunday, late afternoon, there was a 12-year-old that had run away, which sometimes that's not a major deal, and sometimes it can be a big deal. On that day, Lieutenant Buddy Spence was acting as a patrol commander because Lieutenant Patterson was out of town that day. He came in from work, and on his way in from work, the 12-year-old boy was just about at the truck stop at exit 83 and was going to hitch a ride to New Hampshire, and that's a big deal. As I don't know if everybody's aware, but the FBI has actually set up a website just for truck stops for all the abductions and homicides that occur at truck stops. A lot of citizens, a lot of the community is not aware that that is a big issue. Well, he was being aware and astute driving in, and instead of just driving past, he thought maybe that's that kid. He stopped. It was the child that had run away, was able to return the child safely. So it's, I gotta say that Major Nelson brought this to my attention. He wanted to make sure Lieutenant Spence was recognized, and I could not have thought of anything better to recognize somebody for, so I wanted to take time to thank Lieutenant Spence. Good job. There you go. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hey, buddy. Can we shake your hand too?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Great work. Thank you. Thought we saved the kid's life.
Item 4C on the agenda. Steve, you want to take this one too?
No, sir, I'm good.
Proclamation for National Boat Safety Week. Whereas an average of 600 people die each year in boating-related accidents in the United States, with approximately 77% of these fatalities caused by drowning, and whereas the vast majority of these accidents are caused by human error or poor judgment, and not by a boat, equipment, or environmental factors, and whereas a significant number of boaters who lose their lives by drowning each year would be alive today if they had worn a life jacket. And whereas today's life jackets are more comfortable, more attractive, and more wearable than the styles of years past and deserve a fresh look by today's boating public. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and the council of the city of TKK, South Carolina, that the week of May 16th through the 22nd, 2015, will be National Boat Safety Week, and ask our citizens to start a year-round effort to promote safe boating using the American Safe Boating Campaign to wear it, and through practices of safe boating habits. Signed today, the 20th of April. Item number 4D on the agenda is the Child Abuse Awareness Month proclamation. Whereas child abuse in the community problems and finding solution depends on involvement among people throughout the community, and whereas approximately 3 million children are reported abused and neglected in this country each year, and whereas each child abuse prevention programs succeed because of the partnerships created among the social service agencies, schools, religious and civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community, whereas all children should become more aware of negative effects of child abuse and its prevention within the community and become involved in supporting parents to rear their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and the council of the city of TKK, South Carolina, that the month of April 2015 be Child Abuse Prevention Month, and call upon citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in an effort to prevent child abuse, hereby strengthening the community that we live in. Signed today, the 20th of April. A little break there. And last but not least, it's item number 4E is a proclamation for Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and whereas members of the TKK Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of citizens in our community, and whereas law enforcement officials of the TKK Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Council of the City of TKK direct that all flags on city buildings be flown at half-mast on May 15, 2015, in recognition of Peace Officers Memorial Day, and in memory of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of their community and have become disabled in the performance of duties, and to honor the law enforcement officers presently serving this community. Signed today, the 20th of October, 2015.
20th of April.
2015. Thank you. Item number 5 on the agenda is committee appointments. Council, before you is a ballot for committee appointment for the CRC committee. I think we've passed them all down to the city manager. There was one person applying. Can we have the results of that ballot?
It was unanimous.
It was unanimous.
Congratulations, Ms. Wendy Elagreza. And
Very
welcome back
good.
to CRC.
Now she can vote, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. We let her talk the other evening, but,
We didn't
decided-
really allow her to talk that much, but okay. Item number 6A on the agenda is unfinished business with the second reading of ordinance 77 amended. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As the mayor stated, before you tonight is the second and final read of Amendment to Ordinance 77. With this amendment, with the passage of this amendment, we are only amending certain sections of the sign regulations contained within sections 19-16, 19-137, and 19-167. We would ask for council's favorable consideration at this time.
Thank you, Charlie. Council entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment to ordinance 77, sections 19-16 and 19-137 and 19-167 as presented.
I have a motion by Chris Lambic Larson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dottie Hersey. Any council discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This, I just want to make sure and make it public, this can be amended, what we're doing right now, correct? Again, at another time, if council so chooses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other council comments?
No.
Charlie, if this passes tonight, how do the businesses know that this is what we've done?
Our Director of Development Services, Tom Goebel, is already working on and should finalize probably within the next day or so. Basically a bulleted outline type thing that we're going to put in all the business owners' hands out in the Stonecrest area, detailing here's what you can do as far as, and here's what you can't do. We're also going to be meeting with code enforcement staff, making sure that they understand exactly what to look for now with the new changes. But Tom Goebel will be notifying business owners this week.
Perfect, thank you. Call the question, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-1. Councilman Kirby opposes. Item number 6 on the agenda, 6B, is unfinished business, which is the second reading of the comprehensive utility ordinance. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Again, as the mayor stated, this is the second and final read of an ordinance, a comprehensive utility ordinance. This will go in, as far as our city code of laws, this will go into, I believe it's chapter 54. Right now, the only thing we have in the way of utility ordinance is our drought management plan. That verbiage has been pulled into this exactly as it was already existing. This does keep us in following with best management practices with the industry. Is highly recommended by DHEC, and we move forward, and we would ask for council's favorable consideration at this time.
Thank you, Charlie. Council, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of a comprehensive water and sewer utility ordinance.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ron Kirby. Any discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 6C on the agenda is the second reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 42 of the Municipal Code. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I want to take a brief moment to explain what we're doing here. When y'all did first read of this ordinance, it was titled Ordinance 426 Amended. After first read, we realized that Municode didn't really take our changes to, previous changes to Ordinance 70 appropriately because of the way that we were doing amendments. And this is how they've requested that it be presented when changing sections of the code. Obviously not when doing a brand-new ordinance, but when amending the code, which is why you now see it as an amendment to Chapter 42 of the Municipal Code. As we included in your packets, instead of the entire Ordinance 426 with those changes, it just includes the sections of the code, and we highlighted what was being changed. It still is exactly what you did at your first read. We're not changing anything other than that. It's just a reformatting so that we can ensure ourselves that as they update online and in our code books, that everything is updated the way that it needs to be. And this will be the standard practice going forward with amendments to ordinances. Now, with Ordinance 77 and Ordinance 50, we have pulled both of those out of the Municode section. There's a section in Municode that references that both of those things have been adopted and are in place, and they are on file at City Hall. Now, what we have also done is put those as ordinances online because they're such massive documents. When we go through and start making changes, that gets really expensive. We look to City of Rock Hill to see how they were doing things and have mirrored exactly how they've handled their zoning and their development code, which is why you see Ordinance 77 amended, but then on this you're seeing an amendment to Chapter 42 of our code. So again, it is exactly what you, as far as the changes, they're the exact same as what you saw during first read. It's just been reformatted to match what Municode needs us doing and to follow what other cities and municipalities are doing.
Thank you, Charlie. Council, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the second reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 42 of the Municipal Code.
I have a motion by Chris Lambic Larson. Do I have a second?
Second for
Second by
discussion.
Ron Kirby.
He said discussion.
Second for discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ron.
So Charlie, I'm sure you talked to Bob, we're okay even though we changed the title of what we had published in the first reading, there's no problem with this?
To be honest with you, I've not talked with Bob McCleve tonight. I figured we would just have that discussion here as we were going through it. You're still passing an ordinance. It will be assigned an ordinance number once it's approved. But I look at, I mean, the changes that were made are still the exact same changes. It's just in another format.
No,
So
I understand, and I don't have a
substance
personally have a
change. That's
problem
correct.
with it. My question is, public-wise, it's
Right.
stated as one thing under a title, totally different from what we're stating now. That's my only concern. I mean, I think we're okay. I just,
No, it's all right. You can ask.
How different is the title from the first title? First title.
okay.
I'm sorry, Bob, you're okay with it? All right, thank you.
Charlie, all the amended ordinances previous to this will now follow the new format, or
no, any amendments we do going forward will
follow
follow
the
this
new,
format.
yeah, this format?
That's correct.
And the other ones?
The other ones, we are going through with Municode,
Okay.
making sure that everything, now, you're only talking about really the only amendment that has been made since we've gone live with Municode was to ordinance 70.
Very good.
And that's what triggered this.
Very good.
And those changes have been updated and made.
Good.
Dottie?
Nothing.
Jen? Call the question, all in favor, sing by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 7 on the agenda is, 7A is the release of the LOC. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This is more of a formality than anything. If you'll recall at a previous council meeting, council did unanimously vote to accept infrastructure within certain sections of Lake Ridge. There are LOCs for all those sections except for one, which Lake Ridge actually set up as an escrow account. Since they have met all the requirements in their performance agreements, and we have now accepted that infrastructure, we need to release those LOCs and then refund that escrow back to them, which we will work through with the developer to close that out, pending, obviously, council's approval this evening.
Thank you, Charlie. Ron? Make a motion?
Yes. Could you tell? Mr. Mayor and council, I motion to release the bonds and escrow accounts for those sections of Gardendale eligible to be closed out per city engineer Joel Wood's recommendation and return them to the developer for Lake Ridge. And those would be Phase 1, Pod D, Map 2, Phase 2, Pod F, Map 1, Phase 2, Pod F, Map 2, Phase 1, Pod A, Map 3, Phase 2, Pod F, Map 4, and Phase 2, Pod G.
And just as a small technicality, I would change the motion to state that they're letters of credit rather than bonds.
Okay?
Can he just add that since no one seconded that?
To release the LOCs as it relates to the bonds and escrow account.
I have a motion by Ron Kirby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Lambic Larson. Any council discussion? Thank you. There being none, call the question. All in favor, sing by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 7B on the agenda is the Piedmont lease agreement. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The city's lease agreement with Piedmont Medical Center at the police station has expired, and it is now in a month-to-month status. The lease before you this evening has the same terms with one exception. Instead of it being a 2-year lease, it's a 5-year lease. And we would ask for council's favorable consideration at this time.
Thank you, Charlie. Council entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor and council, motion to accept the second amendment to the lease agreement, second extension entered into by and between the South Carolina and DBA Piedmont Medical Center.
I have a motion by Ron Kirby. Do I have a second, Jen?
Second.
Second by Jen Stalford. Any council discussion? Just a couple points I'd like to make out. This is not a contract with Piedmont and the city of TKK to provide service.
Correct.
It is a contract with the city of TKK and Piedmont to park their ambulance up at the police station. They have a contract, Piedmont has a contract with York County to provide service in York County. We are just allowing them to pay us to park their vehicle at our police department so that they can provide service faster. okay? That is, all they're doing is placing their vehicle there. The other thing that I want to make known is that if you are put in a Piedmont ambulance, you are not required to go to a Piedmont hospital. You can tell them where you want to go unless it's an emergency, and they will tell you what hospital you have to go to unless you are strenuously object. Now, one more thing. Out of the city of Tegakay, there are more transportations out of York County than there are within York County. Last time we did this, there was a whole brouhaha that the city was entering into an agreement with Piedmont to provide medical service. That's not what we're doing. We're entering into an agreement with Piedmont so they can park their ambulance up at our police station. That's all I have to say. Call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 7C on the agenda is a bid to award the booster pump stations. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we have before you a bid award for our booster pump stations that will be necessary to go with a joined water system, as was envisioned in our Fort Mill Water Purchase Agreement that council previously approved, I believe back in October of 2014. These booster pumps are necessary because the TCUD 2 system is on a different hydraulic gradient than TCUD 1. So to make sure that we have the appropriate pressures and flow to be able to fill the tank and have the pressures that we need at the hydrants, we got to make sure we have booster pumps. It will also benefit the pressure in our commercial section of Stonecrest. So with that, we did a bid tabulation, put it out for bid following city's procurement process. State Utilities, Inc. was the apparent low bidder. You don't have a bid tab sheet in front of you tonight as we are still negotiating some prices with them. But the amount that we have before you with the motion tonight, we are below that amount already. So we feel very confident over the next couple of days we're going to be able to get that amount even lower. So at this point, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Charlie. Chris?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid for the water booster pump stations to State Utilities, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $600,000.
I have a motion by Chris Lambic Larson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I thought it was,
Se-
Resolution's
discussion.
550.
I thought it was 550.
The resolution's 550.
Okay.
I have a motion by Chris Lambic Larson. I have a second by Ron Kirby. Jen?
I thought the amount was $550,000.
The amount for the next agenda item for financing through the bank is for $550,000. The work right now, as we have negotiated with the apparent low bidder, State Utilities, Inc., right now we've been able to negotiate that price down to approximately $580,000. Because it takes time to get the bids in from the banks, we went with an amount that we felt like we could get close to or hit. If we're not able to get it down to the $550,000, then we can pay cash for the difference and just finance the $550,000. So the resolution that you're looking at on the next agenda item is just for the financing, the portion of this that we would finance. What we're asking for during this agenda item is to award the bid for State Utilities, Inc. And we will, for an amount not to exceed the $600,000. But as I said, as of 5 p.m. today, that amount is already at $580,000, and within the next 3 to 4 days, we should have that thing down to approximately $550,000. But if not, we will look to pay cash for that difference. Long story short, there's a SCADA system that has to be installed on these two things so that they run when they're supposed to, and we're not constantly having to send employees back and forth in the middle of the night during peak times to turn this one off, turn that one on, and things of that nature. Nailing that price down has become extremely difficult through the SCADA manufacturer, and that's why we're at the $580,000. But we do have remarks back from them that it looks like we're going to be in that $550,000 mark total with everything installed.
After they start doing the construction or the installation, is there a chance that they may find problems and they have to do a change order?
At the $580,000 right now, that does include a 10% engineering and 10% contingency, so a total of 20% contingency built in.
And Charlie, if it ends up being more than 550, where are we gonna take the funds from to cover the difference?
From our cash reserves and our utility budgets.
Jen, you all right? Any other questions? Go ahead.
I was just laughing at this. It's not Utilities Inc., this is State Utilities
Yeah,
Inc.
'cause really, thank you for clearing that. I heard you say utilities thing, I was like, whoa. And then when Chris did the motion, I was like, okay, I'm good. Call the question, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Item number 7D on the agenda, City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As was just discussed, we have followed the city's procurement ordinance in putting this financing out for bid on the water booster pumps. BB&T was the low bid. They have agreed to do this as a 10-year loan financing for us at 2.2% interest on $550,000. As how that relates to your budget, when we did the budgets this past for this fiscal year, we envisioned one pump, only needing one pump, and financing the entire thing through TCUD 2 because it would just benefit TCUD 2. Your payments work out, as you can see in the financing documents, to approximately $61,000 and change each year, with the first payment starting in next fiscal year. It'd be April of 16. We have budgeted in the approved budget for this year $65,000 to go towards that payment, so we're under that. Because of the need to add the additional pump, we will be able to share some of that cost with the appropriate amount of that cost with TCUD 1. Since it will get a benefit from that second pump and have those increased pressures coming through there. So it definitely falls within your approved budgets going forward, and we would ask for council's favorable consideration at this time.
Thank you, Charlie. Hey, Jen,
No, it's mine.
it's yours?
Yeah.
That's right, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's right.
Mr.
Gene
Mayor,
forgot.
members of council, I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution authorizing the financing of the water booster pump stations with BB&T in the amount of $550,000 at 2.2% interest for 10 years.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Lambert Larson. Any council discussion? Yes, Ron.
Just curious, Charlie, the 550, is that based on guidelines of the bank to keep us at that rate? Is that why you use that figure?
No, sir. We had started off at 500,000, and as the SCADA number continued to be a moving target, we went back to BB&T after they were already identified as the low or as the apparent winner of this process, and asked them if we could push it up to 550, and the response back was absolutely not a problem whatsoever. We could have hit them with, hey, can we do it at 600? But we had already gotten that number heading south, and we'll continue to work to do so.
No, I understand since you explained the contingencies, but I just was curious how you, because I knew you were at $500,000 originally.
Right.
Okay.
Chris, you good?
Yes, sir.
Ladies good? Call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 7E on the agenda is construction agreement with York County for Hubert Graham Way. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before you tonight, we have a construction agreement with York County, between the city of TKK and York County for the construction of Hubert Graham Way. This agreement is necessary for the county to be able to come into the city-owned rights-of-way in the Stonecrest area to begin construction on that project, which they should be bidding out hopefully very soon. And we would ask for council's favorable consideration at this time.
Council, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor and council, I motion to accept the resolution authorizing the financing of the water pump. Mr. Mayor and council, I motion to accept the construction agreement with York County for Hubert Graham Way.
I have a motion by Ron Kirby. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dottie Hersey. Any council discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 7F on the agenda is the temporary construction easements. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The temporary construction easement and slope permissions agreement with York County for Hubert Graham Way that's before you right now allows the county certain permissions on city-owned property, 2 parcels located in the vicinity of Lakeland Trail in the Hunters Run subdivision. For the county, and there are signs, the contractor obviously, to come in and do the work necessary across our property as part of the construction of Hubert Graham Way. It is only assigning them temporary easement and slope permissions in that area that will expire upon the completion of the road for travel or December of 16. December 31st of 2016, the earlier of the two. So, and again, this is yet one of 3 documents necessary between the city and York County for them to move forward with that project, and we would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Charlie.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to accept the temporary construction easement and slope permissions agreement with York County for Hubert Graham Way.
I have a motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chris Lambic Larson. Any council discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Item number 7G on the agenda is the utility easement for York County and Hubert Graham Way. City Manager Charlie Funderburk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is the third document with York County as it relates to a sewer line extension off of their system that they would, this was envisioned in our settlement agreement with Mr. Stone and Stonecrest, that basically gives them a sewer easement adjacent to the county, gives them a sewer easement adjacent to our right-of-way for them to extend a sewer line coming from the Palmetto lift station, and it will go through our abandoned sewer line that we used to pump through to go to the county that's no longer in service to get over to Jackson Branch. The county is doing this as a way to help with some of the infrastructure issues that they have. And again, this was all envisioned as part of your Stonecrest settlement agreement, and we would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Charlie. Council entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the utility easement agreement with York County for Hubert Graham Parkway.
I have a motion by Chris Lambic Larson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ron Kirby. Any council discussion? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 8 on the agenda is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to be brief tonight, get a couple things to run through. As you may or may not be aware, on April 18th, Lions Club and I believe Neighbors Helping Neighbors held a fundraiser at Village Pizza for Sergeant White, giving 15% of those proceeds to Sergeant White's cancer fight. And I understand they had a good turnout for that, and we definitely appreciate them doing that. They have another fundraiser coming up April 22nd, which is Wednesday of this week. That'll be down at Brewster's, and again, they'll be doing 15% back to Sergeant White on that. I was going to announce that the National Bike to School Day is being celebrated by TK Elementary School this Friday, but today that was postponed to a later date that has yet to be announced, so I'll move right along. On the 29th, the police department is doing a program at TK Elementary School on bullying. Those programs have been well attended in the past, and we encourage parents and kids of all ages to come out and participate in that. It's generally in either the media center or the cafeteria area for that, and it's held, I believe they start at 6:30 p.m. So we'll have more information coming on that on our communication avenues, social media, and things of that nature. May 16th is our first concert of the year. Euphonic will be playing. If you've been down to Beertopia at Baxter, you've probably seen them, and we're looking forward to getting the concert season started because hopefully that means we're having beautiful weather again. Spring Pick-Me-Up was, again, another success. I'd like to, as I stated to council earlier in an email, would like to commend Tim Gillette, our operations director, and Joey Blethen, our Parks and Recreation director, for their efforts in helping organize that this year. It was reported we had 89 volunteers show up that cleaned up in and around Rundy Park, Turner Field, Pitcairn Park, and Windjammer Park. Other individuals cleaned up around TK Elementary School and Trailhead Park and various other parts of the city. And we definitely appreciate those volunteers coming out and spending a very beautiful Saturday working together and around the city. And they definitely helped. We definitely appreciate it. Ordinance 70, we've had so much fun with that. We'd like to play with it a little bit more. After meeting with Chief Parker regarding the towing section of that, we've had some heartburn from some of the area tow truck drivers over wanting to be on the list, wanting to be first on call. We don't really do that many tows, but they obviously want to have a fair shake at it. Steve Parker spent a good bit of time before he came to us working on Rock Hill's section of that code on towing. And would like to mirror some of that here. What he is doing at this point in time is taking those ideas that he and I have worked through and talking to these area tow truck companies and getting input from them, from those business owners. And then we'll look to bring that back to council for discussion and potential consideration coming up in May at your May council meeting. So if you have any thoughts or ideas on the towing section, as far as the tow truck company section of Ordinance 70, which I think is Chapter 26 of the code. If you've got any thoughts or ideas on that, please send them to us so that we can try to address that as we're working through that change, because we'd like to bring it back to you in May. Met with staff on Ordinance 77 and Ordinance 50 updates for the general public. 77 is our zoning ordinance, 50 is our land development code. We have worked out a very good schedule as to how we're going to tackle 77. The 50 updates are relatively minor, but we anticipate sending proposed changes to council the week of August 10th. And then having the public hearing with Planning Commission on September 21st, along with the first reading. We do have, it will go to Planning Commission for discussion at their June and July meetings. First thing we're tackling is making sure that the comp plan that was just approved, as well as 77, match up as far as zoning districts and things of that nature. The second round is really going to be tackling the readability of 77 so that your general public can read it and understand it, and it not be all in technical language that doesn't help anybody unless you work in it on a day-to-day process. So we are tackling those as a staff and feel very comfortable with the dates and are excited to get that moving. And again, we'll get it to you in August so that you've got plenty of time to look at it prior to the September proposed public hearing. As some of you may or may not be aware, Ryan Powell, our former utilities director, left us last Friday. We're sad to see him go, but he has decided to change careers and is working to go into the ministry, and we wish him the best of luck. Our new utilities director will be starting next Wednesday. His name is Philip Jolly. Philip spent 18 years of his water and sewer career with the city of Spartanburg. For the last year has been a zone manager for Charlotte Water, which was formerly CMUD and then CMU. They keep changing their names until they find one that I guess that fits or they like. But as a zone manager in Charlotte, that is basically a utility manager. He had over 22,000 customers in his zone, and he was responsible for the water distribution, the sewer collection, and sewer treatment side of things. So we are definitely looking forward to him getting started with us and welcome his expertise and what he's bringing to the table. So again, he'll join staff next Wednesday. Happy birthday to the TK Lions Club. I understand this is 41 years for them. Last two things, as you saw probably coming back home, if you live on the peninsula here or as you're on your way to the meeting, they have started construction of signalization at Shoreline and TK Drive. That process, after our pre-construction meeting, total is probably about 45 days. We will have just as a reminder, those sections of sidewalk that will be closed, but those will only be closed for about the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then they start striping the road and things of that nature, and obviously the sidewalks will be reopened. Mayor mentioned Toby Lathan. I had the pleasure of working with Toby for my first 4 years here with the city. He's a great guy, absolute great guy. Those of us that did have the pleasure of working with him were sad to see him go when he retired. He struggled with dementia and then later on Alzheimer's after he left here. We know he's in a better place now, but he's definitely missed. Lastly, robocalls started going out this afternoon. I have a concern that I'd like to bring up with council on those. We have over 50% of our customers. The phone numbers we have on file for them are not from the immediate area, meaning Mecklenburg or York counties. They're California, Michigan, Ohio, all over the map.
Their cell phones, no doubt.
Right. Those cost us 14 cents a minute every time we make a call, and you're talking over 1,500 customers. Today's robocall cost us $200. I would like to, with council's direction, only do the robocalls for those people that have the 803, 704, and 980, those locals,
you
because
could
they
do
do have, and if you'll hear me out before you start shaking heads, they do have the option to get this stuff free. And the robocalls are not required by anybody. There's no regulation whatsoever with the EPA, the state, or anybody else that we have to do them. If they would just sign up for our notices, they can get text messages to their phones. They can get emails. We only have 688 people signed up for our newsflash. 688. That's it. We have approximately 10,000 residents. I realize some of those aren't old enough to have email addresses yet, but at the end of the day, it's sad that we have offered so many free ways of people to know what is going on in this city, and nobody's taking advantage of it. Hopefully the robocall is something that, I'm hopeful that it's a system that we've purchased that we never have to use. Unfortunately, we have to use it right now. As we start doing repair work, as we start having to rehab water lines where we're doing water shutoffs and they have to do boil water notices and things of that nature, this stuff can get expensive with these robocalls. My concern is, paying that expense. Now, we pay $200 a night. We may not use it again for a year, and that's fantastic. But if this thing starts ramping up, because there is a free way of doing this, we're not charged for those 704 calls, those 980 calls, the 803 calls. But when we're calling somebody's cell phone from Michigan, it adds up. It absolutely adds up. So wanted to throw it out there for council. You don't have to make it, obviously, a decision tonight, but if you would at least give me the benefit of thinking about it, emailing me your thoughts at a later time, I would greatly appreciate it. But other than that, Mayor, that's, so please stop shaking your heads. I did, one last thing I did want to share with council, and we can make copies if you want and put it in your box. Today, before I came up here, I did receive a letter from a couple that live on Pine Links Drive. One of our utility guys had come out several weeks ago and addressed a leak that they had at their meter. And they were really complimentary of Mr. Alex Broom. Really, really nice. I can tell you, as I started to open the envelope, I was dreading what I was going to find inside. But it's nice to get the good notes. So they were very complimentary of his professionalism and everything. So definitely appreciate Mr. Broom's efforts there, and I'll be happy to share this with council tomorrow. Mr. Mayor, that's all I've got.
He said he didn't have much, but
Could you repeat that one time?
Dottie?
is this
Oh,
my,
I'm sorry, no.
we're not
hold
there
on a
yet,
second.
yeah,
We gotta do,
public
item
comment.
number 9, public comments. Harry, thanks for coming. We appreciate you being here. Do you have anything to say? Good. Happy to be here. Even though you are wearing a not so friendly shirt.
Go Red Sox.
Why do I know that?
I saw this fellow last year at the 4th of July with his crew. And I look like nothing next to him and his family.
Well, taste isn't everything. There are no public comments. Dottie?
A few comments. This was something I was gonna mention anyway, even before we had, the speaker. Was it Miss Mary? Was that her last name?
Randolph.
Randolph?
Mary Randolph?
Mary Randolph. Just generally, this is not me attacking anybody in the city, on the staff or anything, but I could pretty much cry when I ride through lots of our city these days. And I know some of it's Fort Mill, it's not really our city, and they sort of, you go in and out of our city, but we are destroying, from my perspective, our city. I mean, in terms of, we're the tree city. And I understand that progress is important. And I don't know what mistakes, if any, were made or are being made, or we're not enforcing, or maybe we're approving development agreements without as careful an eye as we should. I really don't know if it's any of those things. But I look at the Memorial Garden, what was behind it before the school were these incredible trees. And I understand the school had to go up. We all know that it had to go, but I still don't understand why they had to take every tree down from the Memorial Garden to the school. And now we see that there's this big open space where, from my naive perspective, trees could have remained, and then the Memorial Garden would look even better than it does. I look at the area in Cameron Creek, I look at where Brewster's is. It's just sad. It's sad that all the area around near Brewster's now is naked. There's not a tree to be had. We look at the mistake that was made in Gold Hill Road with the new development. It's just, it just troubles me greatly. And while I understand progress is important, I understand revenue is important, I think that we should, when we have development coming in here, we should be more vigilant about what we allow and don't allow. And if that means we need to change our ordinances so that we really retain more of our land and the beauty of our city, then so be it. It just saddens me terribly. And but that's my comment. I know we're going to hear back from you, Charlie, about the situation that was mentioned tonight, but I'd like for the city staff and for my fellow council members to think long and hard about what we're doing and the decisions we make. And if we can do something to preserve our city, we're keeping these little green spaces around our city, but we've got just clear cutting, just timbering with, from my perspective, not a whole lot of thought about what the future is going to be. That's my negative comment for the night, or my biggest concern. The other comments I have are to say happy birthday to Sergeant White. We know this is probably not your best birthday ever, but we hope that you'll have many more that'll be much happier, and we can continue to think about you and pray for you as you go through your struggle. I'd like to send a shout out to Walt Krasinski. I don't know if he's watching, but he has been a fixture at our city council meetings forever. And we know he was injured in a car wreck, so we hope he's healing and we see him again soon. Wish Ryan Powell the best of luck. I think the city lost a really good employee, but we understand he's pursuing something bigger than the city, and we wish him the best. And like to welcome Philip Jolly to the team, and we look for great things from him. And finally, and I don't hope this is not a church and state mixing, I hope, but May 14th to 16th, there's an Italian festival. Happens to be in Fort Mill at St. Philip Neri Parish. It is, everyone is welcome, whether you're a parishioner or not. It's great Italian food, homemade, and all other kinds of things. I have the pleasure and privilege of being the chair again this year of the event, so we invite everybody in our city to come on out and enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dottie. Ron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I was going to address Mrs. Randolph. Also, I understand her concerns, Charlie, and I know you guys are going to get her the information. I feel her pain from Chris. I remember this was before you, Charlie, when Lakeshore was done, and people looked across, and they looked across your cove, Dottie, over there, and they said, "What is happening?" But I think our planning commission, and I think our staff, and I think our council does an excellent job. There are mistakes made by some folks, and it's being rectified. So I don't know if vigilant is a good word to use. We're known as a tough city, but I don't like the word vigilant. I'd like to thank TCUD staff. I think they've been doing one heck of a job working multiple hours to keep us on track. The rain has been, going through
looking
God's
forward
given us
to
a
a
trial
drought.
period here, Charlie.
We
and,
would much welcome a drought right about now for at least a little while.
But I've had residents that live in the area contact me and say the proactiveness is awesome. So I think we're going in the right direction there. All of you mentioned Toby, and again, I refer to Chris because Toby is one of the first people I met here, and yes, he always had a smile, he always had a joke, but he'd stop you as soon as he finished a joke before you could ask him a question. This was in the old days, way back. He'd say, I got to check Miss Jones' yard. You know, he was always taking care of everybody in the community. He was a great guy. And Mr. Mayor and Charlie, thank you for the Mayor's Cup, wonderful event. I wish you would have been on your knees a little more and prayed for sunshine. It was a little bit chilly.
It was a little cold.
But thank you. It was a great event.
Thank you, Ron. Chris?
I too would like to give my prayers to the Toby Latham family, and I did spend a lot of time with Toby, and I appreciated that. And to Anthony, happy birthday, bud. That's it.
Thank you, Chris. Jen?
I'm going to say that there will be a Memorial 5K race again this year, and that'll be on Saturday, May 23rd, so mark your calendars. You all know it's a tough course, but it's well worth it. It's changing.
Is it going to be better?
Better
Oh, the
meaning
course is
easier.
changing.
The course is changing.
Yeah, I heard the course is changing.
I don't
but
know if it's
anywhere
any
in
better or not, but
TK
it's changing.
Yeah.
Hope
Anywhere
it's
in
gonna be
TK is going to
easier.
be tough. So.
It's more than a mile, so I'm out.
Yeah. And tomorrow there is a beautification work day in the Living Memorial Gardens. If anyone would like to join us at 9 a.m. We'll be pulling lots of weeds thanks to the rain. And Charlie, I just had a question regarding the boats. I know that you've included the regulations in a recent e-newsletter, which is great. But one of the recommendations we had when we were discussing the ordinance was contacting the boat owners directly, because knowing that not everyone looks at those newsletters or receives them. Has there been any other way to reach these folks so they know what the new regulation is?
You're gonna have to forgive me.
With the parking of the boats?
Our police department is working very vigilantly as they're finding boats and just alerting them. They're not going out and just writing tickets immediately. They're trying to explain to them as they see them parked in driveways and things of that nature. I know in talking with Katie today, she is working with Chief Parker to put that, at least the application for the 72-hour permit online, where people can actually fill it out online. It'll go to the appropriate staff member at PD, and then they can respond with, obviously the appropriate information and what they need to do from there. But at least they can get that permit generated before having to come in and spend time at PD to be able to do it. As far as just getting it out there, we're going to continue as we move closer to May, especially. I know Katie is working on ramping up the communication on boater safety and things of that nature, and can most certainly continue to include what our regulations are in the way of when you can have it there, when you can't, and what those processes look like.
Is there a way for certain of these items to be included on Facebook?
Mm-hmm. Most certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
If you don't mind, I'm going to piggyback on that. Why can't we put like a slip in the utility bill? Everybody gets a utility bill.
We can. It costs extra, but we can do it.
Educating our public.
Mm-hmm.
Put a slip of paper in there.
Sure.
It's a good idea.
As it
Well, if
goes
the
in-
slip of paper is big enough, let's do something about the golf carts with children driving them when they should
let's-
not be.
We're coming down to that one in a second.
Sure. We'll be glad to
Good luck, people.
work on getting those notices out.
Anything else?
That's all.
All right. Charlie,
Yes, sir.
how are we doing on the hydrant issue? We approved the stuff today for TCOD 2. Where are we on hydrants in those areas that need them?
We tried, when we first bid out the water booster pumps, we had included the 2 hydrants for Terity. When the bids came in, we couldn't do it. I mean, you were talking bids in the $900,000, almost $1 million range with the water booster pumps and the hydrants,
Okay.
all combined. So I've been meeting with members of our utility staff, and obviously as Philip comes on board next week, we should be able to accomplish getting 3 of the 8 within this fiscal year, potentially even 4. Since several of them are just relocating from one spot on the street to a different spot on the street. And then as we move into October, should be able to knock out the remaining 2. That takes us 5 of the 8. The other 3 we're going to have to contract out, and we'll look to try to put that in our utility budget for next year for council's consideration. And with that, we should be able to have all 8 done. But within the current budget, we should be able to get 3 of them done this fiscal year. If we can just get away from the treatment plants where we can get moving on them.
Okay.
But they are working on trying to schedule that as we move into the warmer months. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then another thing to piggyback on what Jen said, our March minutes that we just approved, it was mentioned under city manager's report, a request to remind people about golf cart regulations. I haven't seen anything on that.
It was
So-
in the last newsletter that went out.
Okay.
Yeah, like yesterday, maybe the day before.
It went out Friday. Yep, went out Friday afternoon. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I haven't seen that yet, so I apologize, but
Well, just, Katie
I-
took you off the list. We'll make sure.
if Katie can put me back on, I appreciate it. I gotta tell you, I saw something on Facebook this past weekend about posting your child driving a golf cart. And, okay, it wasn't a secondary road, but what are you teaching them? By just having them on the paths, riding around. It just doesn't make sense to me, but I don't know. I'm a stick in the mud. I'm getting old. What can I tell you?
Very true.
Council, last time we were all together, we talked about a workshop. I think Sylvia sent out a memo asking about blackout dates for workshops and things. Charlie's got some stuff that he's got to put through on a budget. I'd like everyone to right now look at their calendars for May 4th, and that's the first Monday in May, and do something in the evening just to go through our CIP process and what we have so that Charlie and the rest of staff can look at the budgets.
I'm out May 4th.
And every time we do this, we come
Exact
up
same
with, and then
happens.
it all changes. So this is, I don't think this is the time to do it, but I'm always in, you know that.
I understand
But I get it. It's hard for someone to just do, grab your thing and say, May 4th, we're gonna do it, because then it changes. It's always changing.
I understand that,
So we gotta come
but
up with
people
a.
don't respond.
Well, I responded.
I
So,
did over a
so
month
the,
ago.
the, the,
But
we
they
had,
were-
we had talked about this as a council,
Right.
that we were gonna
Then it
block out
changes.
the first Monday of every month for a
Right.
potential, if we needed, that's the first Monday of May.
We gotta come up with something, you're right, more concrete, where we just say, let's do it,
Ron, you're not here May 4th? How's everybody look on May 11th? We gotta get it done.
Not here.
Okay. Then we'll go back to the 4-hour budget workshops that we used to have. That works for me. The 28th of April is a joint workshop between York County and Fort Mill over at Nation Ford.
What happened to May 11th?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Having a temper tantrum right now, if you don't mind. April 28th is the
Won't help
workshop
us
for the
accomplish
Fort Mill,
anything.
York County, and TK over at Nation Ford High School. That starts at 6:30, correct? And we will publish that like we do everything else with, so everybody knows what the agenda is and what's going to be discussed. May 5th is the school bond vote. It's important to get out and get educated as to what the school bond vote is all about. So I encourage everyone to do that. You can get on their website and find out what that's all about and get your information as to how you're going to vote. Lastly, well, I guess not lastly, but I'm going to talk about Gold Hill Road and 160 project. I received an email this afternoon from SCDOT that the commission has approved the award of the Gold Hill Road 160 project. And now the construction office will finalize the details. They have a bidder, which is Blythe Construction, and they are submitting their insurance and bond documents. They're talking to the construction engineers about the pre-construction, which they hope to have a meeting in mid-May for the pre-construction. And if everything proceeds as normal, we'll continue. That process is going to go on for quite a while. I think the last I saw in my RFATS meeting, that, I don't have that one with me, I'm sorry. But that's probably going to go on for probably about 2 years, the process of getting that done. Some of the other things that we have discussed at RFATS is that SCDOT is going to go the South Carolina 160 West to Zoar Road to the state line, and they're hoping the state will pick it up. Right now, it doesn't look like the state's going to pick that up, but that is going to start, the bid on that is going to open on summer of 16, and they're hoping to have that finished, the construction, by the winter of 18. We all just heard about Hubert Graham Way, and that, the bid process on that is probably going to be June. They're going to open up that bid, and that's going to be 18 months, which will take us to probably the winter of 16, some of the things that are going on right now. I got to tell you, it's kind of frustrating. We need to get some things done so that we can get things done. We put dates out there. We can't get everybody in to make dates, and maybe that's the thing. We don't have everybody there. We just do a quorum and proceed that way. But I don't like that idea because I want everyone to be able to have input into what we do on the budget and what we do in the city. And I'd like to have all of council there. It's very frustrating for me. I imagine it's extremely frustrating for Charlie when he tries to plan a budget and how he plans on doing things when he can't get all of us in a room together to give our thoughts and our input. We do run council meetings pretty efficiently and pretty quickly because there are conversations that happen prior to these, so we're aware of what's going to be presented to us. So I really, I'd like to hear what everyone else has to say about, you know, a workshop, 2 or 3 hours on a Monday night, you know, 2 hours on a Monday night. Give us some kind of direction. Give us some kind of direction. It doesn't have to be Monday.
I'd rather it not be on a Monday. Yes, that's a tough night for me, but the Monday night, May the 11th, if you want to work it out, I can come, but I can't come till 7:30. I mean, and you know you want to start at 6 or 6:30.
Look, I think at this point, we're taking what we can get.
I think your idea is excellent. It's important. We need to do it.
Can everyone look at their calendars for the 11th of May, Monday, and pencil in 7:30? Is that possible?
Make it 7.
7 on the 11th of May? Does that work for you? Thank you.
Mayor, since that is Planning Commission's regular scheduled night, we will need to do that at City Hall. We'll do it in the downstairs conference room.
Okay. But it's still open to the public, if the public chooses to come to.
Sure.
Okay. That's all I have as far as comments. I guess I'm being told to shut up. Council, entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Before we do that, the May 11th, is that only budget? Strictly budget discussion?
It's not really budget workshop. What I'd like to speak to council on is I have had my department head retreat, talk through 5-year plans with each of them. I'd like to share that with you guys and begin the discussion on CIP process, which it is a little bit time consuming. I will have a quote back from Catawba Cog on, we'll need to contract that. It's not a document that we can do internally. Obviously, we will be involved in it, but we definitely need them to help steer that ship. I'll have a price for council to at least discuss and what that CIP process looks like. So then as we turn around at the May meeting, we can have it there for you to approve, the funding to go towards that. That will help as we go through our budget process, getting input back from you guys on the 5-year plan and the vision that our department heads have for each of their areas, getting some input back from you guys so that as staff begins building their department budgets to bring to you in a workshop in, I think generally we do it in late July, early August. It ties in. So this specific workshop, we're not talking, not as much around budgets and numbers as much as it is future planning that will involve our budgets and numbers. So,
Okay, thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Any other council comments? There being none, item number 11 on the agenda is an executive session. Council entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to receive legal advice as it relates to litigation and to have discussions incident to cell tower lease agreement.
A motion by Dottie Hersey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jennifer Stalford. Any council comments? There being none, call the question. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
We're in executive session.